Right, right. Let's see where we are. Cool. Can you guys hear me? Checking on if you could hear me. Let me know if you could hear me. Yo, Eli, can you hear me? Just doing a quick mic check. Sick. That's what's up. About to start talking about what happened this past week and a bit of some other stuff as well in the stock market. And maybe some other bits and bobs in talking about understanding a plan. So I kind of just wanted to talk about a few of those things. Cool. Where are we at? So I want to give a few people some time to get in here. I know I just dropped a link. So I'll give it maybe a minute or two before I actually start. So we shall see. But I'm super excited. I got a quick little list of some stuff that I want to go over, some tickers that I want to go over as well. Trying to build out some structure as well. So this week I was actually able to go to the New York Stock Exchange. So that was a pretty cool experience. Stepping out on the floor. But I got a few names that I definitely want to look through. Back to this. Industrial machinery. That's interesting. I mean, this looks beautiful though. This setup looks beautiful. So we shall see. All right, I'm gonna get going. I'm gonna get going with some stuff that I do really like. So let's start with this. Yeah. We could start with what the heck happened this week. If we maybe start from the focal list going through. Commodity index rose a little bit this week. The eagle weighted S&P stood pretty much, flat, low consolidation range there. Not so much of a breadth metric in the sense of the entire market rallying, because it was broadly bullish for the entire economy. Not so much, but it was just solid. Nothing wrong with a little inside day every now and again. If I were to look at the ratio, the XLP to XLY, I really like to use this because the staples to discretionary, and I always forget which one is which. XLP is staples. Okay, yes. XLP is staples, yes. So stronger the staples means that generally the market's a bit more defensive than the consumer discretionaries. So that's why I have this ratio to try and see really which one is the stronger of the two. Right, and over the last week, it seems as though the discretionaries were slightly stronger. This one is another piece. The VIX. Wow. All of the negativity that was built up in the VIX from Iran war issue, excuse me, into before has completely come out of the VIX now. We're back here chilling at 17s. And we've been chilling at 17s for some time. Thankful for that. I don't want more elevated fear. I think that makes the market very, very difficult. With the volatility up, down, left, right, center. That's another thing there to really keep in mind. And the VVIX itself is doing similar price action. They did both have a kind of solidly decent green day. So I guess some people were protecting positions heading into Monday. But yeah. The correlation chart, right? The correlation chart can't come out. A lot of the implied correlation for the past month, that risk has come out of it. I'm very grateful for that as well. That's what's also helping sustain this rally the way it has really. And then if we look at financial conditions, looking at the two bond ETFs in comparison, I think liquidity is doing a bit better here. Liquidity is flowing through the system, not at necessarily the best pace or the best speed, quote unquote, but I think it's still doing pretty good nonetheless. And then what else do we have? Let's see. Let's see what else we've got. Let's check the metals. I mean, we checked the commodities, all right, earlier, but how are we doing on metals? So gold, pretty solid. Little bounce going on. Something could be brewing there, right? I definitely know that we are going to go see Xi Jinping in terms of the U.S. president, Mr. Donald Trump himself, sometime soon. So that's something to keep in mind, as gold has been a major liberator or player, really, I should say, in China and what they got going on and what as well. Pardon me. And I feel like in a grander scale, that what we saw here in this price of rally, drop, make a lower bottom, push higher, not quite yet, rally into beyond, is something similar to really here. If we say rally, drop, attempt, come back again, right? So if I were to potentially go ahead and just do this real quick, something along the lines of this could be occurring here in price, but just on a much larger scale, because really where gold pushed before was absurd at the moment, 5,500 plus. And it needed to digest that move. It's digested it, I feel. Come down, make a higher low, as we've seen, after breaking out and retesting this range here, right? Beautiful placement. I think gold finds its way potentially back on the map, and effectively maybe even into 6,000 over the next what, 6, 8 months, maybe something like that. So really, we'll see. But last time Trump went to go see Xing, President. I hope I'm saying his name right. The Chinese leader. Trying to find something to just quickly. Sure, maybe this could help. That was when, right there. Right there in August. Sorry, October. And we saw that shortly thereafter. That, as well as if you were to look at silver, I think silver does look similar in the sense, right? Where there's been basing. If I extend this basing out here, that's great. I like that. And it even looks like, we're trying to do something here. So maybe above 75, I want to take it. And try to grab something out of this, really, to see this basing here as we move into higher highs and maybe back into the 95, 100, 110 range of silver itself. Yeah, I think I truly do enjoy and potentially see that. Oh my goodness, Qs. Wow, what a beautiful rally. SPY, very, very similar to such as well. Like, just absolute layup. At least so far year to date, SPY's up 7.5%. Qs are up 14.7%. We've also got even IWM's 14.7% as well. That's interesting. And silver is at 8.4, and gold is at 8% on the year in terms of appreciation. So that's another thing that is pretty interesting as well, to see how the indexes have fought back to really end up being, one of the leaders so far in terms of, higher level, more macro products. But if we were to maybe look at what's happening on a global basis, Korea is unstoppable. South Korea, at least. 88% on the year. Japan, 13. Mexico, 14 as well. Like, emerging markets are outpacing or even beating in many cases. Brazil's up 21% on the year. Taiwan, 49% on the year. Right? Some of these other funds, Netherlands, 12%. I wonder how much of that is ASML. I want to look that one up, figure that piece out. Up 24%. That makes sense. That tracks. And Nebius also 3.8. Some other semiconductor, and then also Universal Music Group. Top 10 takes for 60% of the total holdings here. So that's something super interesting to see. Just a decent amount in finance as well. Okay, that's cool. Let's see. The EEM, the total emerging markets, up 21%. I'm loving this. This has been playing out almost too perfect. Like, this is how I drew it up, y'all. This is how I drew it up from a taller time, bro. From a taller time, and just been sitting and being patient and trying to not play with it too much. Just stick to the gun, stick to the thesis, right? We know that in EEM, it's a bunch of Taiwan. It's also in like TSM, right? So if you look at the holdings here, exactly. This was a great mixture, a great bag of products that I really liked. To have TSMC, to have the direct AI and chip exposure, mixed with some memory exposure, the top two Asian memory names, and a little bit of China internet. I was a big fan of this basket of goods here. Although I did know it was going to lag EWY, right, which it has by like fourfold. Um, I'm still a really big fan of this and how much further we can go in this department. You know, so we got a much heavier weighting on these two there that create that extra alpha as to why as South Korea has performed the way it has, over not only the past year but even this year. Like last year it performed 87% already, 87% by like September, October, November, and now it's on the year 88% just alone, just this year, and we're in May 10th, y'all. So that's another thing that I really wanted to keep in mind. I think last week we spoke about CARR, and what's happening there. I just wanted to update on you guys, or update you all, I should say. Nothing's really happened yet. We drew it up. We set the oops. I moved something. There we go. I set the alert, but nothing's happened yet. It's been an inside week, so just waiting, patience. That's pretty much it. They did report earnings that Thursday. That was really nice for them, and they moved up really well. I think they're just trying to digest the growth that they saw in earnings, and they'll move on from there. But I noticed something that I wanted to bring to you all's attention, and it is that I would take another quick check on this as well. But if I were to show you one graph that I really found super interesting, or at least maybe a few graphs, I should say, rather. You can talk about a few things. We got, this is that EWY, that South Korean name that I was telling you about in terms of exposure, and where we're at with that. The notional volume as a percent of the global fund, madness. 14% in volume, which is 14% of the entire ETF fund. Like, what? EWY is eating up 14% of all those ETFs in volume. And that's monstrous. It seems like all the money is going into EWY, really. And South Korea and SK Hynix and memory names. And if I double it down and I go into this chart from Goldman, the DRAM sector and how the ETF has exploded in volume. It's absolutely exploded in volume. And really, you could see it in the chart as well with price appreciation. I think it's really only a matter of time until potentially DRAM finds its way trying to knock on the door of 90, trying to knock on the door of 100 maybe, I've read reports where firms are even looking to actually pay. Let me try to find this report. When they're trying to pay, hey, Digitime reports that NAND manufacturers are exiting the 2D NAND market, triggering, panic buying and sharp price increases. And lots of names are reaching the end of it. No, that's not the story that I wanted to really harp on. I really hope I did put it in here though. I could have sworn I did. But effectively, effectively the news was that firms are yearning so badly for these companies to make more energy and more chips for them, that they're willing to, finance lithography machines from ASML for the company to make the chips specifically for them. Like, I've never seen so much demand. I've never seen so much demand for really a sector, right? Like, let me see if I can find this piece here. I've never seen so much demand for a sector that effectively says, like, hey, these firms are actually willing to not, hey, I will pay for the lithography machine from ASML. I'll help pay for your expenses just to allocate me some memory chips. I like that level of demand is unprecedented, right? And it's very hard to throw the word bubble on something that has this much demand and such an insanely constricted supply, right? Like, that imbalance within itself, those alligator jaws opening up as the supply contracts, and then the actual demand continues to increase. Those moments are moments of true price re-rating, and we've seen it across the semiconductor space as a whole. We've seen it where all these names are continuously getting re-rated. You could just insert AI related name here, MXL, limit up. This thing went, bro, what? Like, it can't stop moving. It can't stop. Effectively, it can't stop. Intel in their current scenario and how they're, postured and configured with Apple and the likes of other companies as well, right? The Micron, Mr. The RAM storage himself, you know what I mean? MU. Qualcomm as well has come into the game just a bit as of recent, but still not playing any games, right? And then you couple that with some of the smaller names that aren't too popular, at least to the street, or at least to retail, I should say, more not necessarily the street, but and they've done insane. GFS, a very underrated semiconductor name that I've written up reports on and shared with you all, I believe even last week. Again, other names like Penguin Solutions, and what they've put together. Like, we're talking about 132% over what, 5 weeks? 5 weeks, y'all. There are some ETFs that I do want to talk about, at least going into I want to say this week's earnings and even beyond. This cybersecurity ETF, I find this one to be pretty interesting, mainly because I'm assuming the main two names in here are Palo Alto Networks, right? Which has done a great job of just, consolidating here and being, within this range, and has now found its way into, trying to go kiss all-time highs with earnings coming up as a potential catalyst event eventually early June, it seems. Amongst, you also have Palo Alto Networks, and then there's also Dang, what's the other name? CrowdStrike. See, they're both on a similar trajectory. You know, cybersecurity as a major key there. So if I go look at the cyber ETF and what's in it, it could be a way to play both of those names in a really, you know, respectable, non-crazy way. Yep. And there they are. Those two, Broadcom, Cisco, even Acom. Okay. I feel like I've heard of a, wow, they had a 26% day on Friday. Wow. Oh, look at you. Hey, Acom. I guess I built this one out. Completely forgot about it. Did not realize. Did it have earnings? I think they had earnings, and that was, yep, they had earnings. And then even on the earnings day itself, or maybe it was aftermarket. Yeah, okay. It was in the evening. Got it. And it just popped. It popped into Friday like a literal boss. I love this setup. I love that it was able to really appreciate. Oh no, it was really able to appreciate like it did. Shout out to all the shareholders, all the people along Acom. I find it. Oh no, not this one. The cyber ETF. There we go. Oh, and also Cloudflare, and then Datadog is also in it. Datadog's done really massively well. Also, just over the past little bit. Look at this, right? The underlying names in the ETF itself are all very bullish right now, confirming why I'm bullish on the ETF itself, but just smoothing out the results to have less microeconomic, you know, less microeconomic exposure, because what all in total is the full exposure. So if you look at FTNT as well, right? Oh man, this thing moves so weird. I mean, like so interesting though, but it's definitely weird. It does this a lot, you know, and then boom, next step, right? Like you can see, sits, does dancing, boom, next one, boom, like boom. It's just like so step. It's like in a way like step oriented. I've noticed that with the stock's price action, at least it's awesome. Beautiful torch setup here that happened all to 24 and to beyond. I believe I even wrote a report on this piece a little while back. If I try to find it, FTNT. Oh no, huh? Was it not there? Or maybe it was written in the WAP. All right, so much. I don't even know where all of it goes. But I'm very much a fan. Been writing up on tons and tons of names. I'm super interested in also like what's going on in housing. Like I see the flow there and then it disappears, and then I see the flow again, it disappears. It's like playing, it's very elusive in that regard. Very elusive. I was trying to find the report on FTNT, but let me see. Nope. I'm not finding it. It's definitely in the WAP. I just need to figure out where in the WAP. FTNT. What? Why can't I search it? Why are you playing games with me? Even Aurora, I wrote up a beautiful piece on Aurora September of 2025, where it needed to sit right there at $6.13. It sat there for some time, and people positioned rather well. People were pushing. People were like slightly late on timing because it seems like people were focused on the March 9s, but I think it didn't really happen until May, where it really stepped into its form and was able to grab a lot of it. Here it is. FTNT, dropping a quick post. I literally currently love the setup on FTNT for the following reasons. Technical, the chart looked beautiful, like absolutely beautiful, immaculate. And then it actually failed after me saying it looks beautiful. And price failed. What something happened at earnings, and I believe the company they didn't like how that went. And price actually fully re-rated and fell well below. But the company's financials have continued to grow like pretty dramatically over the past little bit here. So I'm still a long-term fan of FTNT, and the price action seems to be coming around now that we're touching essentially all-time highs at the moment. I do believe there was a bit of a scare when futures opened earlier this evening because um, S&P fell a little bit, and Nasdaq fell a little bit as well. But that was, I believe, in relation to a tweet that Trump sent saying that he doesn't like what Iran sent over as a deal, maybe. But it's been a lot of it's been bought up. At least it hasn't like shown a continual bleed of any sort, right? So it's boom, and then it just got bought back up. So, I mean, I think it's a very, very possible scenario that that as long as nothing really develops overnight into the morning, that whole thing becomes a complete non-event, and we can go from there. But I mean, that would have to play out in that manner, right? That would have to play out along that sense. I kind of wanted to touch a little bit on some other stuff as well, some names that I really like. With hantavirus going on and what we're seeing, I think I'm seeing a lot of healthcare potentially being something here, where Humana had a blistering week, right? Off lows effectively. So, I mean, pretty good value grab just in general, really. Names like CVS, right? All had, oh, this is not a beautiful chart, at least. Right? Names like CVS, who aren't necessarily doing poorly, but they did pretty good overall in price movements and appreciation over the past few weeks, as well as Clorox got a little bit of a bid here, right? It's been beat up pretty aggressively, right? So the name seems to be cheap, but a lot of love and energy would have to step in here to really get going. And I'd like to see that, honestly, as the hantavirus and the concerns surrounding it potentially can come into play. That on top of, as well as mRNA, I believe they're already in some very, very early preliminary kind of, there it is. Moderna said phase 3 mRNA showed a 26% relative efficacy versus standard flu shots. That's generally cool. And then also Moderna is showing some progression in that. And they're running preclinical mRNA hantavirus vaccine research with this and the Korea University. Okay, that's interesting. No human trials have started or anything. And obviously, no hantavirus vaccines have been approved worldwide. So, I mean, ultimately, I think this makes this whole thing very early in the sense of early. And it's going to be very integral to pay attention to, what comes down the pike overall and within time, to be able to see like what all in all is going on here, and if it actually grows into a concern, like a true concern, or if it very quickly gets stifled out and is not a thing. It's not a thing, maybe. So yeah, so we'll see about that. Let's see. Oh, another thing that I really wanted to share about as well was this graphic that I found. I believe this image comes from Goldman, and it basically shows that the prime book for hedge funds showed that there's a lot of buying and selling, at least over the last 5 days. The most buying seemed to come into utilities, and the least or the most selling came out of energy and industrials. At least in regards to hedge funds, right? Over the past 20 days or so, Infotech, I feel like hedge funds are either full positioned, which is why they're not really participating in this melt up right now in semis, because I would really expect that Infotech sector to be much higher than where it currently is on that chart. Like, actually, that shows like net selling, which is pretty lightly concerning. Either they're completely missing the boat on this rally, or I'm missing something myself. But utilities, at least over the last 5 days, have seen what, almost 3.2, 3.3 standard deviation move in terms of accumulation in the total flows. Like, that makes you want to look a little bit deeper into utilities and see what they've got cooking over there. And that was what I really wanted to kind of get into in this chat with you all today. What the heck? Where's my utilities? Is it this one? No, it's this one. There we go. Utilities. Sheesh. All right. So, like, all red, at least on Friday. Vistra, ooh, red all week. Most of these names were really red. I'm not sure what happened. I guess maybe they're buying the earnings. Like, they seem to be buying these dips, right? And I think it's in relation to really like AI and like power, and what they do as providers with power, because realistically, supply demand, and because of that, I think that's really it. But I think I'm just keep my eyes on this sector to try and figure out what actually is going on, or maybe even if hedge funds are right in this case, or they're just a bit too early, one or the other. But I did try and trade Vistra Corp last week, I believe, and that did not work out well. So I had to exit that position, right? I had my managed risk. It was just the flow wasn't there, wasn't a continuation. People were just really fully focused on chips, and I think seems like pretty fair enough reason, honestly. I think we also talked a little bit last week about Joby, Roku, some other names, and Joby had a monster week, like 9 to 1080, monster week. Almost 20% in the week, pretty monsters. STM as well, monsters. Like, come on, you can't make this stuff up. Like, sheesh, man. So like, if I just come to the semi sector and I just start scrolling through here, I bet you there's so many bangers in here. But like, let's see. Let's see if I can find. High mix. Oh my gosh, this guy is absurd. Absurd. Talk about absurd. Like, I took this initial trade. That was the very first time I took it. And then I missed the second entry. Oh my goodness. And then it just blew up in my face. IMX, what a banger, man. Congratulations if you really were able to hold through all of that and take all that in. That's a true beautiful one. I think some other names that haven't done a lot of, like, I'm not going to say, obviously this name has climbed a lot, right? Like, I'm just saying the ones that have climbed and only climbed over the last 3 weeks, those ones I find interesting, right? So like, for example, a high mix over the past few weeks has only climbed. If we look at MXL, right, only climbed. Tips, names like that, only climbed. But there's some other names in the semi list that haven't done that, right? They haven't done that. So I think SLS. Oh, SLS is not in the semi names. One sec. Yeah, it's a pharmaceutical company. That pharma space is definitely super interesting as well, but SLS is another name that I was kind of interested in. Oh, even MRAM, right? Only up. But there's a bit of what I find to be some semiconductor AI related names that haven't done, right? Because they've ran prior, but their run, maybe coming in later in the cycle because they're not a part of that second run. Right? And because they made their leg, their like second inning or their third inning or third breath, if you will, could be coming in here shortly. Right? So names like COHR, because it's been up here, it's just been kind of consolidating and dancing at this 340, 350 range. Maybe it can find its way to jump and capture the 400, capture, something. Pardon, something much more ambitious by jumping into that. And then also I think VIAV, right? They've done pretty well, done a bit of a pullback as of recent from the break of that high. So that's something pretty cool to keep in mind. As well, this GTX name, this auto parts name for OEM stuff, that has been pretty insane. And then they posted their earnings too, and it was great. Like, look at this, absolute tear, absolute tear. I don't want to buy this here, but pardon me. Oh, and then this one, this data labeling, data processing company, man, what? 86% on the day is just absolutely unheard of. Absolutely unheard of. Not something that happens on any regular day. So that's gonna stay on the watch list, of course. I'm gonna figure that piece out, try to see what happens there. As well. Twilio, another banger. If you know, like, I got shares from 60 change, 55 change. Oh man, I've just been sitting in this, just crying my eyes out. Like, this is beautiful. To have seen this from here with such progressive revenues. Like, love this name. Long-term review, portfolio strategy, remain bullish on Twilio. And I did take a bit of profits at that moment. And then after that, I left it alone, completely left it alone. Turnaround story, something to definitely keep an eye on. Oh, this is it right here. This is me briefing the agent group back in November 2024, where I detailed out, what I liked out of Twilio. Circling back to, I guess, a previous report as well. And then, at least at this point, I was already up 33% from the initial moment. They raised guidance at that time. They, showed insane growth in their free cash flow, as well as, my view on where I thought price was going as well. It was really beautiful in that case. And I guess this is actually the original report here. Let me share this tab. Early October, I wrote this report in 2024, where I was pretty interested in Twilio, my reasonings behind it, as well as I found this graph right here to be exactly what I wanted to see. Right? How the stock price just sat in the gutter for so long, all while the revenues continue to pile up. Like, beautiful, right? The catalyst that I liked and I really managed, I said the integrations with OpenAI's real-time API, allowing, customers to develop and use voice, as well as, what they do for messaging and putting that piece out. It was definitely a huge candidate for my basing theory that I have. Where price tends to stay at a confirmed price for quite some time until the market decides that, hey, it should actually be worth a bit more than that. And it just so happened that that's when it happened. And from that moment, from October into now, right? Like, we're talking. Or sorry, August of 24, roughly, or October, 227%. Got a two bagger here on Twilio. Shout out to Twilio for my two bagger. Took a lot longer than my Micron bagger, but grateful for that nonetheless. I want to say it's about a four bagger now on Micron, since holding shares. So grateful for that as well. Very, very grateful to have the insight, to marry the data, to figure this stuff out. ASX, another massive name, showing that there. So what else do we have? I think that's effectively it, you guys. Like, that's all I got for this stream, really. I have a massive week ahead of me, absolutely massive. I ask and I hope and pray that you guys also have a great week, very, very busy and productive weeks for yourselves. We shall talk again soon. Yeah? Peace. Agent out.